It slips onto the screen like a warm memory. Bing Crosby by the piano, snow drifting outside a Vermont inn, everyone wrapped in soft light and perfect harmony. White Christmas feels safe, timeless, almost too perfect to question. But behind that glowing postcard is a web of hidden voices, recast roles, backstage heartbreak, financial power plays, secret cameos, and a mysterious neck that fueled rumors for decades. The more you peel back, the more this cozy classic starts to look like Hollywood's most elegant magic trick. In this video, we're going to unwrap 15 strange, little-known facts about White Christmas 1954 that will change the way you watch it forever. Fact number 1. The film was built around a song that was already too famous. What's unusual is that White Christmas didn't start from a screenplay, but from a song. White Christmas was written by Irving Berlin around 1940, introduced in the film Holiday Inn, 1942, won the Oscar for Best Original Song in 1943, and became one of the best-selling singles in history for decades. Only after the song had already become a super hit did Hollywood decide to construct a completely new story around it. Structurally, the movie is almost like a musical revue wrapped in a plot. The classic case of showbiz thinks first, emotion comes later. Fact number 2. The project was shelved for years and nearly became the third part of a trilogy. From the late 1940s, Paramount already planned White Christmas as an unofficial third entry after Holiday Inn, 1942, and Blue Skies, 1946, both musical films pairing Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire. In other words, the coziest Christmas movie was conceived as a calculated step, reuse a proven formula, and repackage it. The pattern of doing the same thing again, but in new wrapping, would later repeat over and over, both in the plot and behind the scenes. Fact number 3. Phil Davis went past Fred Astaire and Donald O'Connor before landing with Danny Kaye. Originally, the role of Phil Davis was written for Fred Astaire. He read the script and turned it down. Then Donald O'Connor, star of Singin' in the Rain, was offered the part but had to withdraw because of illness. Only then did Danny Kaye appear. And he went big. He asked for about $200,000 plus a percentage of the profits. The studio thought he was just pushing his luck, but in the end, they still had to say yes because they didn't have many alternatives left. Behind the image of the witty Phil Davis who keeps coaxing Bob Wallace into his schemes is a real-life journey just as calculated. This role was bargained over, recast, and reshaped several times before it made it to the screen. Fact number 4. Bing Crosby walked away from the project after a family tragedy. During the early preparation stage, Bing Crosby almost withdrew completely to spend time with his children after his wife, actress Dixie Lee, passed away. Only later did he return to the film. In the movie, Bob Wallace often feels reserved, slightly distant, dodging direct conversations about his feelings, especially with Betty. That sense of loss and caution becomes a recurring pattern. The character always hides his deepest wound, mirroring the way Crosby himself quietly stepped out of grief and slipped back into work. Fact number 5. The first film released in the brand new VistaVision format. White Christmas was the first film released using Paramount's VistaVision process, a widescreen format that ran 35mm film horizontally to use twice the negative area, creating sharper images with richer color. All those lavish stage scenes, bright red staircases, sparkling costumes, weren't just there for Christmas prettiness, they were also meant to show off the new technology. Every spin of Vera Ellen's body, every detail in the chorus behind the leads, is like a demonstration of how vividly VistaVision could capture color and motion. Fact number 6. A strange profit-sharing deal. A Christmas movie split 4 ways. Financially, White Christmas had a highly unusual profit split. Bing Crosby 30%, Irving Berlin 30%, Paramount 30%, and Danny Kaye 10%. It sounds like a friendly, let's all share the pie, but it reveals a very clear power structure. The songwriter, the biggest star, and the studio share almost equal slices, while everyone else, on screen and off, revolves around them. Once again, we see a familiar pattern. Whoever holds the power also controls the story. Fact number 7. Pine Tree, Vermont does not exist at all. Audiences remember Pine Tree as a snow-covered little town, with the cozy Columbia Inn glowing red by the fireplace. But both the town and the inn were built on sound stages at Paramount in Los Angeles. Even several outdoor scenes were shot indoors, just from different camera angles. The wintry East Coast town under thick snow was actually created right in the California sunshine, with painted backdrops, fake streets, and carefully controlled lighting. Once again, the reality that viewers believe in is nothing but a shell built by storytellers. Fact number 8. Snowflakes made of soap and foam. Back then, creating artificial snow was a full craft. To make those gentle flurries that land softly on actors' shoulders without damaging the equipment, the crew used a mixture of foam, soap, and other lightweight materials, instead of asbestos powder, as in many earlier films, a substance later found to be toxic. The image of former soldiers and guests in knit caps standing under drifting snow, therefore, is tinged with a beautiful lie. Even the weather is engineered to serve the story, just as the characters themselves are constantly staging little performances to hide the truth. Fact number 9. One sings, one dances. A mismatched sister duo, Rosemary Clooney, had a powerful, emotionally rich voice, but even she admitted she wasn't a strong dancer. Many of her moves had to be simplified to keep up with her partners. Vera Ellen, on the other hand, was one of Hollywood's finest dancers, a former rockette from a very young age, but she was weak in singing. On screen, though, the Haynes sisters seem perfect. They sing beautifully, dance elegantly, and synchronize on every move. In reality, you're watching two performers constantly disguising each other's weaknesses, a kind of mutual cover-up that mirrors the way Bob and Phil keep hiding their true intentions under layers of humor. Fact number 10. Most of Judy Haynes' singing voice belongs to someone else. Judy Haynes sings quite a lot, but most of what you hear is actually the dubbed voice of singer Trudy Stevens. Sources note that Stevens recorded Judy's songs, including Sisters, Snow, and her parts of the final White Christmas sequence. Vera Ellen only reveals a hint of her real voice in the early lines of Snow, when the four characters sing together as they step off the train. This is yet another layer of fakery. The audience thinks they're hearing Judy, while both the character and the singer are hiding behind the mask of performance. The motif of concealment, of feelings, identities, even voices, becomes a quiet pattern running through the entire movie. Fact 11. The older sister on screen is actually younger in real life. In the film, Betty is the older sister and Judy the younger. In real life, though, Rosemary Clooney was about 7 or 8 years younger than Vera Ellen. When White Christmas came out, Clooney was only around 25 to 26, while Vera Ellen was about 33. It's not just a funny detail, it exposes a habit of flipping ages to serve an image. The one who looks brighter and more girlish is pushed into the younger role, while the one whose demeanor feels more mature is labeled the older sister, regardless of their actual ages. Fact number 12. The leading man is much older than his female co-star Bing Crosby was about 51 when he filmed White Christmas, while Clooney was in her mid-20s. This fits Hollywood norms of that era. Men could be significantly older and still be framed as romantic leads, while women were pushed into narrow molds of youth and softness. The way Bob Wallace often comes across as calm, sometimes almost paternal with Betty, isn't just an artistic choice. It reflects a very familiar power dynamic where the older man holds both the plot and the relationship in his hands. Fact number 13. Many of Bing Crosby's lines were improvised. As a top-tier star, Bing Crosby was allowed to tweak, add, and even invent a lot of his dialogue. Behind-the-scenes accounts mention that he regularly played with his lines, especially the witty remarks and little comments in exchanges between Bob and Phil. That's why Bob Wallace so often feels natural, as if he's thinking and speaking at the same time, instead of sounding stiff, like many musical characters of the period. But once again, a pattern emerges. The person with power, the star actor, has the privilege to steer the story moment by moment. Fact number 14. The Sisters drag routine started as a set prank. The scene where Bob and Phil put on blue costumes, grab feather fans, and lip-sync Sisters is one of the funniest moments in the movie. In reality, it began as a bit of off-camera, goofing around by Crosby and Kay. They were impersonating the Haynes sisters to amuse the crew director. Michael Curtis found it so hilarious that he decided to film it and put it straight into the movie. Crosby reportedly didn't enjoy shooting the scene because the feather fans irritated him and were generally uncomfortable. But the laughter you see him breaking into on screen is real. Once more, something unplanned, even mildly unpleasant for the actor, gets recycled into one of the movie's most beloved moments, showing how White Christmas keeps turning inconvenience into picture-perfect joy. Fact number 15. Freckle-faced Haynes, the dog-faced boy, is actually Alfalfa from Our Gang. When Judy shows Phil and Bob a picture of her brother, Benny Haynes, Phil jokes that he's a freckle-faced, dog-faced boy. The shot is so quick that most people barely notice. In fact, the face in the photo belongs to Carl Alfalfa Switzer, the child star from the hugely popular Our Gang / The Little Rascals shorts. Switzer was already an adult by the time White Christmas was made and doesn't appear physically in the film. Only his photo makes a cameo. It's a classic Hollywood in-joke, using a face familiar to an entire generation of moviegoers as a blink-and-you-miss-it detail only the sharp-eyed will catch. Another act of concealment, this time hiding a whole cinematic childhood in a single frame. Fact number 16. Still counted within the 15, but grouped with number 15 by theme. The background dancers were the future of Hollywood. In the musical sequences, especially in Love You Didn't Do Right By Me, there's a tall, stoic dancer in black behind Rosemary Clooney. That's George Chakiris, who would later win an Oscar for West Side Story. Another is Barry Chase, who plays Doris Lenz, mutual I'm sure, and would later become Fred Astaire's regular dance partner on television. These almost silent figures in the background would go on to lead the screen a few years later, repeating a familiar pattern. The person outside the spotlight today may be tomorrow's star, while audiences seldom realize they've just brushed past the future of cinema.
What do you think about these facts? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.